Welcome to the Phoenix Sports Podcast. This is the first time I've ever hosting this. It's kind of cool. I'm with Shane, Leah, and Espo. We're doing a 2021 year in review. And as you know, we are presented
Can we
by...
really applaud the 2021?
And as you know, we're presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, which is America's #1 sportsbook app. So make sure you download it. Using promo code PHNX, you can just put $1 down on any NFL team to score, and you'll get $100 in free bets. Yeah, 2021. Fun time.
2020 part 2.
And I know, I know
that's
Espo tried to crap all over it already, but yeah, we should celebrate because we had 3 major teams get all the way to their championship games of their respective leagues, which is probably more than any other calendar year that I can recall.
Okay, if we're talking purely sports, yes, we should celebrate.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, you said
This is
2020
the
year
Phoenix
review.
Sports Podcast. I mean, Jesus. I don't know what episode you thought you were coming on to, but
my life didn't get good until September when we started this thing.
Man, I'm sorry, wife and kid at home.
Oh
I guess it was miserable.
They were stuck with me constantly, so it was.
Well, before we get to our first athlete of the year, if you could give me one thing about 2021 that you did like, Espo, I know it's gonna be hard. What would that be, Shane?
I went to a finals game. I went to the Western Conference Finals game. Just the atmosphere and how much this city embraces. I don't want to say a winning team because that sounds fair weather, but just the Valley sports, because it wasn't like I've been to Fenway, I've been to like a bunch of different sports cities and gone to those, but it was so special to not only see your own city representing, but also the way they did it. It felt different, and Phoenix sports fans are just very nice, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere that they brought. So I'd say just how this city came together during such a hard couple years, but a really special couple years for the sports.
Awesome.
Teams.
Yeah, let's keep these comments at 30 seconds to a minute, like we had previously discussed.
About 55
The
seconds.
show notes were important.
55 seconds.
Go ahead, Leah.
Just my highlight of 2021.
Yeah, whatever it was.
When you called me on the phone and said we're launching a sports network, do you want to be a part of it?
That's pretty cool.
There was my 10 seconds or less.
Oh, that's fantastic. She had to make up for Shane's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That was 55 seconds.
How about you, Espo?
Would you like me to?
Yes.
It's between 2, but I think the one that stands out most is my family and a few friends going in together to buy me a ticket to the finals. It was astronomical. They spent way too much to get me in that building for game 2, but it meant the world to me that they went out and did that for me. It made what was already a special moment in terms of sports here in town that much more impactful for me. So
Yeah, I mean, those are all great things. And Leah, I normally in any other year I would agree with what you said about launching this tremendous company. But personally, obviously, I got married a couple weeks ago, and that was pretty epic. I'm not sugarcoating it. It was pretty epic at Disney World. So that's what my major takeaway from 2021 was. Despite the fact that my wedding was epic, another team that was not so epic this year was the Arizona Diamondbacks. And we will bring in Derek Montilla. He is the one that is in charge of our D-backs podcast. Derek, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Saul, by the way, your wedding was my favorite moment of 2021.
Thank you. I will make sure to pass on the word. Derek, who was the one standout in 2021 in your eyes for the D-backs?
Well, it's hard. There were moments, but there were inconsistencies across the board with this team. It's why they ended up in the position they were in. I wanted to give an honorable mention to Merrall Kelly, even though his numbers don't reflect it. He was consistently solid for this team throughout the season. But the best player on this team, best athlete on this team this year, like he has been in the past, is Ketel Marte. Ketel started in only 90 games, so barely played half of the games this season, but he still hit 318, which is what he does every season. He's going to hit 320, and still came through with the best offensive numbers on the team. Struggled to stay healthy with his hamstring injuries throughout the season, but still just an incredibly consistent player that is kind of left to not have the great numbers he could have because he's not exactly surrounded by a great team. Also, the injuries really killed his season as well.
Yeah. I mean, the injuries killed a lot of seasons for a lot of players on the D-backs this season, unfortunately. And Cattell Marte obviously struggling for them. Derek, thank you so much for joining us and spreading the good cheer today.
I'm gonna go back into the witness protection program.
Into the dark.
We're hoping he's not kidnapped. We did not kidnap him, so
I thought that was just
dark
depression that Diamondbacks fans were.
Yeah, that's the outlook.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Thanks, Derek.
Bye, Mayor.
All right. Well, the mayor of PHNX, the self-proclaimed mayor of PHNX, I should say, joining us there. And yeah, we could sit here and dwell on the negative, but I am glad that we were able to point out some of the positives. And we do actually have another positive coming up here soon. But before we get to our U of A guy, we're going to have a list of, we're going to unveil, I should say.
It's a really long.
Yeah, we're going to unveil.
Shade, hand me the scroll.
We're going to unveil the top 5 moments for Phoenix sports fan or Arizona sports fans this year. And we're going to start with number 5, Phil Mickelson.
Biggest moment of a legendary career. Phil defeats Father Time.
Phil Mickelson winning the PGA Championship this year for ASU peeps. Obviously, he's a homer, but Phil Mickelson defeating Father Time, as Jim Nance said, pretty cool moment.
As we all know, Father Time, the best PGA golfer right now. So a big victory for Phil.
Phil's just so cool. Like everything he does, him being left-handed makes the game so much more fun because he can do weird things and he turns the club around, gets out of crazy situations. I think the most fun part is how he shoots himself into these situations. Though he'll have an awful drive go off right, and he'll say a couple expletives and then make a miraculous shot to get right back in. I love everything about Phil, and it was really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
His online game too. He is one of the funniest guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That some of his videos and things. I mean, that I liked Phil before, but he has become even a bigger star in my mind because of some of that stuff.
It is the beauty of social media. That is the aspect of social media that is beautiful, is that you get to see more about these players off the field or off the court or whatever, and it's pretty awesome. So let's bring in Mike Luke for our Arizona. He's the host of our AZ Wildcats podcast. Mike, what's cracking, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Been listening to you, and I see the Phil Mickelson love. It's all right.
There you go. Well,
ASU.
We're going to give you a chance to share some love and give us your Arizona Wildcats Player of the Year.
It's funny. When you messaged me yesterday, I was thinking, and I'm like, who is it? And then it took me about 5 minutes, and I'm like, it's Aari McDonald. And Aari McDonald really, I think, is she was really the centerpiece of turning Arizona women's basketball into a national brand again. And I think that that's what's exciting for people down in Tucson is that you're used to having this, this juggernaut men's basketball entity. But let's be honest here, over the last couple of years, it's really been the women's basketball team that has taken the cake here. And she's the main reason why, because she was the best player in the country last year. I know that she didn't win that award, but, watching it, she certainly appeared to be the best player. And she was the one that was able to push Arizona, the program, from being good into being a top 10 program. And they haven't looked back since. I mean, you can't really speak highly enough of how she's done for this program.
I mean, they're the number 4 team in the country this year as we wrap up 2021. They feel like they haven't played for like a month because of COVID. But nonetheless, Aari McDonald and her emergence as one of the best players in the country, and then subsequent number 3 draft pick in Atlanta, one of the bigger stories this year.
Yeah, I think Adia Barnes obviously deserves a tip of the hat as well for what she's been able to do with that program down in Tucson. But that was a hell of a moment. you saw a lot of people, not only in Tucson, but up here in the Valley, embrace that run and really have fun with it. And they came so damn close to cutting the nets down too. It was a heck of a run.
Yeah, as a ASU guy, I still had so much fun watching that Final Four. That team just played with so much swagger and emotion. That was one of my favorite women's college basketball moments by far.
Leah, you're a U of A grad.
Yes, I am.
And I know you were there during the dark days of women's basketball.
Yes.
What were your thoughts overall?
It was just so great to as a U of A alum to have a team have that level of success, and like you have all said, just have everyone rally behind the team. And I've never, watched a women's basketball game as closely as I did to that final game, and just to see all the love on social media, like just to see women's sports have success like that was really awesome for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what's kind of transcendent about it, to pick up on Leah's point there, is that, Arizona women's basketball is a big thing in this town now. I mean, you go and there's 8,000, 10,000 people there. I know things are a little bit different now because of COVID, but that program with Adia Barnes and Aari McDonald spearheading it has certainly captured the imagination of the city, and they haven't looked back since then. So to me, after I thought about it, I'm like, it's Aari McDonald, and then there's basically everybody else from an athletic perspective.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, we appreciate your time and sharing the love for U of A and Tucson in general, and really passing on everything about Aari McDonald, because she was, by and large, I would say she was probably one of the top figures in Arizona sports this year, just in total, not just the U of A as well.
Nobody did more for back in the A this past year, that's for sure.
Are we still back in the A, Mike?
Oh, yeah, we're always back in the A.
We're always back in the A here.
I was out last week and I backed the A on accident.
Shane, I appreciate it. It's contagious, my man.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, appreciate you guys.
All right, that's Mike Luke. He's the host of the AZ Wildcats podcast, so if you get a chance, please subscribe there. But overall, I mean, that run was spectacular. And before we get to the Cardinals, let's just kind of recap a little bit about, PHNX in general. I know the name PHNX probably lends itself to Phoenix,
yeah.
And you think maybe it's just Phoenix only, but we're not. We're Arizona. We just use these as kind of like a call sign, to try and bring you in. And so Tucson being a vital part of what we do here as well. I mean, Mike's done a tremendous job with that podcast in general. He's had tons of interviews, athletes, coaches come on to the show.
I love his show.
Pretty fantastic, yeah. The
one thing that I don't understand about Arizona college fans is not backing the pack. And so when U of A was making that run, even though that was Stanford in the Final Four, right?
Mm-hmm.
They played. Whoever was winning that game, I was going to cheer for in the Natty. And some people wanted U of A to lose after that as an ASU fan. I just don't understand that. Like, I was so bought into this U of A team. Maybe it's because I liked how they play, but you want the pack to win. That's what I never got.
I think there's a healthy mix of that, right? But I would agree. Like, for instance, earlier this year when ASU was on a good roll, I was sitting there thinking, please do something and actually come, actually reach your expectations and go to the Rose Bowl. Or more importantly, I don't think the Rose Bowl I would have cheered for them, but I would say if they got to the college football playoff, I absolutely would have, because I want to see these local teams succeed.
Exactly.
They just can't succeed against my school.
Yeah,
Exactly.
At a certain point, you have to let the rivalry go in that kind of a case. When it's a national championship on the line and your team really wasn't in the way of that school, I think you let it go.
For sure.
Accept, hey, this is fun. This is good for everybody in Arizona and Arizona athletics. So cheer for them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think also, just again, as a U of A alum, like, just to see success, the last time I felt that same level of excitement was my freshman year when the men's basketball team made it to the Elite Eight. And I'll never forgive Frank Kaminsky. I know you love him, Espo, but
it still hurts.
that, so just to feel that same joy, it's just incredible. Like, we're all Arizona sports fans, but when your college team, like where you went to school, like that's with you forever. You can move to different cities and adopt different teams, but your college team is forever. And I think it's fantastic.
One of the things that, I always tease Espo about, because he has a tendency to dwell on, he has PTSD, right? From Arizona sports of the past. Yeah. And so like sometimes, like when things don't look as great as they could, it's like the sky's falling sometimes. And I think all of us kind of experience that from time to time. And it's always good to remind yourself, like, hey, when the going is going good, or when the getting is going good, or whatever,
Whoa.
whatever. You know what I mean?
Nice try,
When the
Saul.
when the going gets good.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. is
There
better
you go.
than
Okay.
that.
Well,
But I
anyway,
don't think that's
When
what
things
you're
are
doing.
looking up.
when things are looking up, let's embrace that. Let's enjoy
Yeah.
the moment.
Exactly.
You know, I always say put a little relish on your hot dog because we
my
got to
hot dog
experience
is
it.
without relish, without ketchup. 4 championship chances this year. Oh, for that's
Hey,
all I'm saying.
It only takes one.
We just like to embrace Greg. The game is over in the first quarter. Esposito.
Yes, yes.
This is
very
it
true.
looking
It's
good.
16
Yeah.
to 12. It's going to be a long one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a team that's kind of been the epitome of both, I would say. They've started off fantastic at 7-0, and of late maybe struggled a little bit is the Arizona Cardinals, and we're bringing in Johnny Venerable to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. That's Shane's favorite guy. What's up, Johnny?
What's up, folks? Thanks for having me on. I'm going to say gentlemen, but Leah's on the show giving it some class, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Well, Johnny, you know, we could go a myriad of different ways in terms of your player of the year for the Cardinals, but who did you choose?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me before the season, I would have wanted to come on here and say Kyler Murray, because that means that I think that they're a Super Bowl contender. Right now they're not, and that's in part because Kyler Murray is not playing great football. So unfortunately, I can't say Kyler Murray. I would want to. I can't. The best player on this team from start to finish is safety Budda Baker. And that's not because also he's probably their best overall player leading into this season. I mean, he's got 4 Pro Bowls in 5 years. He was an All-Pro last year. He's going to be an All-Pro this year. But, man, you watch that Sunday night game against Indianapolis, and he is one of few players, no matter it's a primetime game, a 10 o'clock kickoff, he is ready to instill pain on the other team, and he is ready to perform at the highest of standards. And that's why I think we all love him, right? Because at the end of the day, even against, you know, the Detroits of the world and their recent losses, their stretch of not great football, Budda Baker, number 3, has been there performing. I mean, he has sacked Saturday night. He's got an interception this year. He's top 10 in the team in tackles. The secondary, in my opinion, is one of the biggest surprises of this year in terms of how they played. And even with, you know, losses of Robert Alford and now Marco Wilson, I still have confidence in that unit because of Budda Baker. He is somebody, he's carried the baton, so to speak, of the great safeties that we've had don the red and white. Of course, with Adrian Wilson, and now Budda is that next in line. Tyrann Mathieu mixed in there. I think to me, when people think of this franchise, of course they think Kyler Murray first, but I mean, Budda Baker has a chance to be a Hall of Fame player in the long term.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not wrong about that. That's for sure. And I agree with the consistency aspect of this. And I think that's what you were alluding to is just Kyler's been inconsistent. And, you know, they have huge games coming up this week against the Cowboys. And as we know, they have clinched a playoff spot. So you never know what could change in the playoffs. Espo, you had talked about, you know, you actually made the post on our social about when they did clinch the playoff spot about, you know, all it takes is getting in a reminder of the 2008 team. You know, what are your thoughts about the Cardinals' chances as we move forward?
Well, look, I mean, that 2008 team was called the worst team to ever make the playoffs. They had gotten their asses handed to them in New England towards the end of the year. They slid backwards kind of into a playoff spot like this team, and they found a way to have that magical run. Now, they had games at home. I don't know that this Cardinals team is going to find their way into home games, but there's talent there, and it's just going to take them finding that confidence again. And I said it last night to Johnny on the Cardinals show. If they hadn't lost that Detroit game, things don't look this bad. Detroit's why this looks as awful as it did, because it felt like the same old Cardinals. So I still think there's a lot of opportunity here. I agree that Budda's the player of the year. May have been Andy Lee. I mean, I didn't know holding was as important as it was until we saw the Colts game. But look, if they get right in Dallas this weekend, everybody's going to be singing a different tune.
Leah, you know, you host the Coyotes podcast. Obviously, winning is not a very big factor over there. When you watch the Cardinals and you see their demeanor, how's it different from what the Coyotes are going through?
I think the Coyotes expected this, and to see the Cardinals go through what they're going through, it's like huge disappointment to the fans, because Coyotes, it's like the bar is on the floor, so anything above that is great. But for the Cardinals, the way they started off the season, the bar was high, and how they've been performing the last few weeks has been not up to the standard of Cardinals fans. So honestly, it might be a little bit easier to be a Coyotes fan right now, which is crazy to say. But I just think there's a little bit more hope right now for Coyotes fans versus Cardinals fans. And I think, maybe, I don't know what's going on in the Cardinals locker room, but, they just have to kind of regroup and get back to whatever they were doing early on in the season.
Johnny, before we let you go, yes or no, the Cardinals will win or at least cover the spread in Dallas this weekend?
I mean, I don't think they're going to do either. I want them to. I told Shane on bets just a little bit ago, I would hammer 5.5 for Dallas right now. Just a plethora of weapons. I got to see it to believe it with this team right now. I want to be pleasantly surprised while Cheerston and I are in Dallas for that game. We all want them to play well, but I also can't, hide the fact that this team has let us down each of the past 3 weeks. And just kind of to go full circle here with Budda Baker. So we've talked about it before. Like, this Cardinal team, they don't have enough dogs on the team. I hate the term swagger, but like, that's missing right now. And until they get that back, and it starts with number one and their head coach, until that returns, and you can count on upwards of, 10 to 20 players on the roster to roll into a stadium and expect to win, they just, to me, look like a very soft finesse team right now. Doesn't mean it has to stay that way, but man, after what Dallas just did to Washington last weekend, I don't know how you pick against them.
Absolutely. Johnny, thank you so much for your insight and for joining us today.
Bye, you little stinker.
Thanks, guys. Check us out, PHNX Cardinals Live this afternoon, 3 p.m.
Johnny, the ultimate salesman, always plugging in the show, which is great stuff. Also, host of our Bet Show, along with Shane right here, and co-host. And speaking of which, football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get skin in the game with the new same-game parlays. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code PHNX. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code PHNX this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And as a reminder, 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Woo! All right. Well, that's a lot. Also, 9 innings is a lot. Let's go to our number 4 highlight of the year. One, Mr. Tyler Gilbert throwing it.
Center field. Marte. Yeah! It's a no-hitter.
Pretty cool moment for a team that really struggled this year. You love to see it, right?
Sounded like there was some crowd there.
There was a crowd there, right?
That was pumped in. COVID. No.
I mean, it was still a pretty cool moment for a team that was desperate for a cool moment, for sure.
I do love that we found the 4x3 video of it, too. That's always impressive when you get the black bar. So yeah, I'm glad we had that.
Hey,
look,
we have
once again, Espo.
Espo is always
bringing the positivity.
Always great no-hitter, a feat that nobody accomplishes. But however, do you see the black bars?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
honestly, it was the D-backs. It was the one bright spot that they had this year, and it was a hell of a one. I mean, technically they had 2 no-hitters, but MLB is so screwed up that if you pitched an entire game and it was a no-hitter, but it was only 7 innings, somehow it's not a no-hitter. Fucking baseball. But but this was a no-hitter, and it was spectacular. So it deserved to be in the top 5.
I mean, a no-hitter's still a no-hitter. I agree with you, but it is 7 innings. And I mean, most of the time when we see no-hitters get broken up, it's always the 8th or the 9th inning. He
couldn't pitch the 8th or the 9th. There was no 8th or 9th.
Just saying.
Oh, God, stupid fucking baseball.
Anyway, Tyler Gilbert, congratulations on your feat. That was a pretty cool moment this year. And we might as well go right back to you, Espo. You would not only have one, but you have two athletes of the year that you have to pick for the Suns and the Mercury.
I break the rules when I show up somewhere. Look, for the Suns, it's a no-brainer. There's one name that when you look at how that team transformed and what they did, if you're looking on the court, it's one guy, and it's Chris Paul. Chris Paul deserves all the praise for what the Suns did. He was an all-star, had fantastic stats for his age at 36, wound up leading them to the finals, and you saw his impact on DeAndre Ayton, on Devin Booker, on the mentality of this entire team. They don't make the finals if Chris Paul doesn't go, you know what, I want to go play in Phoenix, because that's the other thing. He made the choice. He told OKC, this is where I want to go, because Sam Presti there had enough respect for him that he said, I'm going to deal you to somewhere you want to play. And Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards of all time. I was going to say point gods of all time.
Our God.
One of the best songs we have here.
Point God is an awesome God.
But when you look at it, there's no denying that he was the reason that they had that dramatic shift franchise-wise. Yes, Monty Williams, James Jones, Devin Booker, all have massive impacts. But Chris Paul comes and it shifts the mindset. It shifts the respect around the league, and they found a way to get all the way to the finals and come very close to winning it all. So Chris Paul is definitely the man this year. And on the Mercury side, a lot of love goes to DT, but I think the unsung hero for this team, and has been for a while now, is BRITNEY GRINER, the most dominant big woman in the league.
You're going to say the most biggest woman ever.
The biggest
Which
woman
is
ever.
not a lie.
She's
pretty tall.
The most dominant center or power forward in league history. She does things that no other woman has accomplished in the league. She had huge stats this year. She wins a gold medal with Team USA. She helps lead the Mercury to the finals after nobody really expected them to get there, and they had a hard road to get there. They also looked like they were going to win it and had a little bit of a backslide, but she was spectacular. And again, I don't think she gets the attention or praise that she deserves, because she is one of the best of all time that league's ever seen, and is the only woman that has really brought that next level excitement with those dunks early on in her career that we hadn't seen, that brought a different kind of fan to the game with all that. So I can't say enough good things about BRITNEY GRINER.
I mean, the thing that people forget about is that BRITNEY GRINER didn't even play last year.
Yeah.
She participated in the bubble for a short period of time, and then she left and she didn't come back. So the Mercury did everything without her last year. So to take basically a year off and then come back, and she was such a vital part of that team. A lot of those games in the playoffs were in those games because she had kept them in the first half or through three quarters, and then DT and Skylar would do their thing, or Sophie Cunningham actually. We can't forget about her. She had a phenomenal first game. So yeah, I mean that's terrific. So we go from one end of the pendulum and reaching success. And I'm sorry, Leah, but now we're going to the other end of the pendulum.
We have a great attitude. It's fine.
This is true. Probably one of the best attitudes for any team in this building, for sure.
I can't wait for the bar is the floor shirt. That we're
yes, the bar is the floor.
The bar is the floor.
The bar is the floor.
Bar down.
Bar down. There you
Bar
go.
down.
There you go.
Bar down.
Leah, you're the Coyotes host. You've been watching this team all season long, and really even last season as well. So this is a 2021 category, not just 2021-22 season. So who is your Coyote?
So this one was hard because if you looked at just last season, it would have been one person. If you looked at this season, it would be another. But looking at the calendar year as a whole, the player who led the team in points was Phil Kessel, actually, which is ironic because he's probably not going to end this season as a Coyote, but he has been one all of 2021. So Phil Kessel is, for me, the Coyotes player of the year, led the team in the calendar year 2021 with 64
I feel like
points.
that's going to be a little controversial, yeah?
Yeah, it will. It's fine. But another cool thing about Phil Kessel is he's third in the NHL all time for Ironman streak. Mm-hmm. So he has played, I think, 930 consecutive games in the NHL.
It's the scariest streak.
Which
ever.
Is insane, and I think that's worth noting too. But it is funny because when I thought about this, I conferred with Craig and Petey because I tried to get their 2 cents. Craig actually said he thinks Connor Garland would be the Coyotes player of the year, which is funny because he's not even on the team this year. But I think that's a good point, and that would be like my runner-up probably, because when he was traded, that trade hit the Coyotes fans the hardest. I mean, the Coyotes traded away their captain this year, and that did not hit Coyotes fans as hard as Connor Garland getting traded. So
because Connor Garland actually does something on the ice.
He tries so hard.
Tries hard, loves the game. So he made an impact on the stat sheet. He made an impact in the team's emotions and connected well with fans. So statistically, Phil Kessel was the best player. But looking from an emotional perspective, you can make the argument for Connor Garland.
Connor Garland is like not from leadership aspect, but from just pure annoyance, the Chris Paul of this team. But last year he was always getting hit the hardest because of how much he'd pissed the other players off. And him being traded was like your favorite restaurant canceling your favorite food item. Like, I was so mad at the Coyotes. I didn't want to watch hockey for a while, but now it's just so funny to watch and have a new favorite player.
Phil Kessel deserves some props too for the maternity photo shoot.
Yes. How about when he sold his house in Pittsburgh with like the single seat in the movie theater room, the giant movie theater room? So yeah, he's a character. He's a character.
He is a character. I wish he would talk a little bit more. He doesn't really like to talk to the media so much, but DT likes to talk to the media a lot. You got her on your shirt. That's a pretty dope shirt. Greatest of all time. And that leads us to our number 3 highlight of the year, Diana Taurasi in Game 5 of the of the conference semifinals.
Taurasi a 3 for the lead. You bet! Diana Taurasi delivering on both ends.
She's so fucking cool.
There is nothing better than when DT's on and she's fired up.
Oh yeah.
Like, there is no athlete, I don't care, across the spectrum of athletes that have ever played here, that it's quite like that.
Diane, if you're watching this at any point in time, you're always more than welcome to come to our show. We will even have replacement doors for you, just in case you want to kick another one.
And not only that shot, but her performance in the finals, and just the entire playoffs in general. When she'd get hot, nothing's more fun to watch than that.
She's 36. She dropped 39 points. She hit her career high in the playoffs when she was 36 years old. That's insane.
The best part about that is she dropped that 3, sent the Aces packing, and then flew home right away to watch the birth of their daughter that next night at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then had to get ready to go just a day later to play in Game 1 of the WNBA Finals.
The post-game interview. I'm coming.
Yeah.
So good.
Just so awesome. So, I mean, DT is fantastic. I'm a U of A guy, but listen, I'm biased to the ASU, the success that they have, because their success is your success,
Are
Shane.
you patronizing me?
I'm not. So who is your Sun Devil of the year? Because there's a lot to choose from. You're talking about women's and men's golf that reached a pretty high point. Football, they had up and down seasons, but individual guys had some pretty fantastic, numbers. Basketball, women's basketball made the tournament. So who is the one that you picked?
To me, there's no person that impacted their team more individually than 3. It's Rashad White. The amount of times this man bailed ASU out single-handedly. The Washington game you're looking at, there were so many situations where this team had nothing going offensively. Jaden Daniels' deep ball that he's usually on point was just off this year for some reason. The receiving core, they didn't have a guy. Their defense would sometimes just get into a funk mid-game, and you'd look at 3 and be like, help me. Please help me. And he would. I mean, you saw those stats, 1,000 rushing yards, over 450 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns on just this season alone. He was incredible for this team, and he's going to be missed so much. And tomorrow night, you're going to get to see what ASU football is going to look like next year, because for the most part, most players that won't be here next year, with the exceptions of guys like Tyler Johnson, are opting out of the game. So you're going to see Jaden Daniels and Daniel Ngata, which is going to be the 1-2 next year. It seems like Herm's going to be coaching for his life essentially next year. So I'm excited to see this team, what it's going to look like without Rachaad White. And I can guarantee you that Sun Devil fans are not going to be happy with 3 not on the field, because Wisconsin has the best defense in the nation, and it's just going to be bad.
It feels like 3 is the magic number today. We got Budda Baker, Chris Paul. We talked DT. You had Rachaad. Like a lot of number 3s having successful years in 2021.
It's a good number.
I mean, 3 is a good number. Third time's always a charm.
Except for when it comes to attempts at championships in the year 2021 for Arizona sports teams.
Well, we had 4
wins.
Yeah,
Right?
the Rattlers. The Rattlers. We can't forget about the Rattlers. You know, they you know.
Well, if you count U of A basketball, it's 5. U of A women's basketball, it's 5. There are 5 chances, right?
I thought that was the 4th.
No.
Mercury, Suns, Rattlers, and women's basketball.
Oh, okay. I miscounted. I threw in an extra Cardinals, but that'll be in 2022. So
Espo being positive.
Oh, look at that. I don't know what to do
weird.
with that. Yeah. Well, I counted your Sun Devils with the number 2 overall highlight of the year, my Arizona women's basketball team.
Arizona Baptiste back in. McDonald quickly into the front court. She wants to go, and that's why. Through the lane, McDonald stops on a dime, banks it in, and the foul. Here she comes off the Aari screen. A great look. It is good. It's a 1-point game.
Oh, God, it hurts so much when they lose by 1 in the national championship game. It's no different than Paxson, and it's no different than Santonio Holmes in the corner of the end zone. It's just, I'd rather just get blown out. And that's what made me feel, I could reflect on the season for the Suns and feel okay about the way things worked out. Yes, they were up 2-0, but Giannis was on another level in those 4 games. Like, okay, Candace Parker and company with the Chicago Sky, I still feel like the Merc had a chance there, but they played sloppy and Chicago beat them. Like, but they pulled away late, right? This one,
crushing.
Just right there.
Seriously, I can't eat Greek yogurt because I'm so mad about the Suns championship and
Oh
Giannis
my
still,
God.
right?
He's
Like-
so full of it. I swear.
I can't watch Full House with John Stamos. I'm so angry.
Oh,
because of the
shoot.
Greek
Boy,
freak,
goes!
Like, I
But you
can't.
watched Seinfeld.
No, I won't.
Oh, okay. All right.
My brain has blocked out the finals. Like, I literally, when people are like, Giannis was incredible, I'm like, yeah, I remember that he was, but I don't remember anything. Like, it's gone.
I remember those first 2 games. It was great. I don't know what happened after that.
I-
COVID canceled
yeah,
it, right?
yeah.
I'm sorry, but Leah, if the Coyotes made it to the finals, I think you'd remember every play of that final.
The Coyotes' last successful season was 2012 when they made it to the Western Conference Finals, and I still remember everything about that. That was 9 years ago.
That was
Exactly.
the Kings, right?
Yes, they
Oh
lost to the
my
Kings.
God. And
They got
Drew
swept by
Doughty.
the Kings.
Ugh.
I
Dirty
still was
little
expecting
man.
Lee to go. I was 9 then, and I remember everything.
I was
about it.
16.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta enjoy the moment. You gotta enjoy the
I
moment.
enjoyed
It was
the
fun.
moment.
No,
Like
I'm
all
not
these
saying I didn't
these
enjoy it.
runs were so fun. Like even in the losses, they were so much fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I'm saying it was so emotionally intense that my brain it doesn't remember anything.
But I think that's the coolest thing about sports is
Mhm.
that you can feel that way. Like
Yeah.
that something outside of yourself can like allow you to feel those emotions.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's
That-
such a cool feeling.
That's what the Suns run did. I mean, we were coming out of not seeing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think back to that, and like those finals were the first time a lot of us actually ventured out because we had just gotten a second dose of the vaccine. It was like, okay, I feel a little bit more comfortable to be
Yeah.
in these major crowds through that playoff run. And so it felt even more because of that, right? Like you felt like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm back in my community. I'm back
Yeah.
a part of something that meant so damn much to me. And it's finally really back.
Yeah.
Like it's great to do it online, obviously, but just being in that moment and feeling that energy, you're right. There's nothing like that. That sports is the common language that it doesn't matter, any of the factors that tear us so much apart right now. Sports, when you're in that arena, 18,000 strong, and your one voice.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
And that's the
in
one
world.
thing about PHNX is we talked about it a million times is that, you know, we're here to build a community of sports fans. Like, and this is the one area where, you know what, your biases aside or your politics or whatever you believe in, like, we can all root for the same team.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of sports, you know,
even,
is that
even in the losses. I remember game 5, I went to the game and I went to meet my friends at a bar, and I made one of my best friends that was bartending that night because I was so enveloped in these sad emotions because they had just gone down 3-1. Tommy, I love you, man.
there you go.
Rock bar for life.
Well, before we get to the team of the year, we are going to announce the player of the year, and selfishly, I was the one that picked this and the team.
A huge voting group put together this scientifically.
Spoiler, it's not the Coyotes. I know everyone is shocked.
I know. We do have an honorable mention, and it is is this the player?
No.
Okay. We do have an honorable mention in terms of a moment of the year, and that would be the Coyotes' 7 straight games against the Blues.
Yes.
But nobody cares about that anymore. Our player of the year, is Chris Paul. He is our player of the year. Sorry, I choked on my own.
You're so
I got
emotional.
choked up. So emotional.
I'm so glad that I didn't know who your player of the year was, but it aligned with the son of the year, because that would have been really bad if we weren't on the same page.
Yeah, well, I was going to pick Devin Booker just to spite you, but I chose otherwise. Chris Paul, obviously the biggest impact of any team here in the Valley. You could go with anybody from the Mercury, maybe DT or GRINER, but in terms of a single impact player who took a franchise that was, you know, really reveling in mediocrity, all the way to the NBA Finals. It was quite the feat. Aari McDonald was pretty close because of what she did for an Arizona women's basketball program that had never been past the Sweet 16 and hadn't been to the Sweet 16 since I think it was 1996 when their own head coach Adia Barnes was there. But Chris Paul, for the Valley's original franchise, I just thought on a much bigger scale, it meant more to the state of Arizona. So Chris Paul is our player of the year.
I wish there was a plus minus for technicals, like how many he's made other players get compared to how many he's done. He would
be
lead.
high in the
Pat
plus.
Bev.
Yeah.
Any dispute about that? If there's anybody else you would like to throw in, who would it be and why?
We've never seen anything like this. I mean, I don't think it's close. I think, as you said, it's the pure uplifting of a franchise, like truly by one player. And you see what he does to other franchises, their win-loss compared to the year after he joins. It's incredible. I don't think it's close. I think it's Chris Paul.
Leah?
No, I agree. It has to be.
You know, I could see where maybe you could make a slight argument that DeAndre Ayton in this calendar year taking the giant leap, having the huge playoffs, even though he didn't get his extension, coming in and being a professional and not losing his crap on everybody, you know, and playing well into this season and at an all-star level, that you might be able to make that argument. But that's if you don't look at the cultural impact that Chris Paul had on changing things. If you're just looking at stats and on the court or on the field, that would be the only one that I might be able to make an argument for, but it would be a weak argument compared to Chris Paul.
I agree. And ironically, Chris Paul leads us into our team of the year, which is 3 different ones. This says Phoenix Suns, but it's not just Phoenix Suns. We actually made it the Phoenix Suns, the Arizona women's basketball team, and the Phoenix Mercury for all getting to their respective championships. We throw the Rattlers in there, but we don't have a Rattlers podcast, so we'll just go ahead and talk about these
basketball.
3.
Yeah, great year for basketball in Arizona.
It's the winner. It was clearly basketball this year,
awesome.
for sure.
The basketball fans in this state were treated to something that rarely is seen with how good everybody played. I think it was the last time an NBA and a WNBA team in the same city made the finals in their respective leagues was 2004. So it's not something that happens a lot.
The Lakers and Sparks.
Lakers and Sparks. So look, it was a hell of a run. Hopefully, the Suns have started off well. Hopefully that continues. Merck, looking for a coach, but seemed to have the talent, and obviously U of A ranked 4th right now. You make it
and they're in the top 10 in both men's and women's basketball, which is Oof.
And I know we touched on this earlier, but
Sorry, Shane.
They're so good. I'm so scared.
I know we touched on this earlier, but to see 2 of 3 of those teams like be women's teams, and to see not just sports fans rally behind them, but all the other teams, to see how the Suns supported the Mercury on their run. Like, it's just so great to see the support for women's sports, because they deserve it, not just when they're making it to the finals, but all the time. So just to see that this year for me was a highlight.
I agree. It was just so much fun, and that's what sports is all about. These teams all gave us a lot of fun. And before we wrap this up, obviously we're going to get to our number 1 play of the year. And before we play this, I just feel like this is one of those moments where you remember where you're at, you remember what you were doing, and you remember the feeling that you had when you watched this single moment. And this will forever go down as one of not only the iconic moments in Arizona sports history, but definitely in when you start to play like the top plays of all time in Arizona sports, this is going to be right at the top. Also, the name. It's just beautiful.
Perfect.
The Valley Oop. Let's go.
Crowder looking, throws it alley. Oh! He puts it down! He puts it down!
Oh, man.
I mean, Espo, we did a podcast right after that, and we were all like kind of not only excited, but also shocked. Like, what just happened here? Granted, the referees gave us like 85,000 minutes to kind of reflect over it, because they kept reviewing it a million times, but
that was insane.
the vibe was immaculate.
You look at it and the angle, you didn't see it in that shot, but the angle that Jay Crowder had to make that pass at from the baseline. The fact that Monty knew that wouldn't be called a goaltending because in an inbounds, that's not possible. Devin Booker setting the screen that frees Ayton up to time that jump appropriately, and Ayton timing that jump as immaculately as he did to finish it. That encapsulated what made the Suns so special. It was everybody working together, right? That was why that run was magical. It's why they were good. And that one play showcased all of it. And the wow factor. I mean, it is to win a game. An inbound alley-oop, they're trailing, and they pull that off. And yes, it's always great when you have a catchy name to go along with it as well.
The angles kept getting better and better. I remember they showed the first replay, and you're like, oh my God, how did he even get there? And then you saw on social after, there was another angle from the side, and then there was the one from behind, and you're like, oh my God, what a perfect pass. And my dad, I was watching with my dad. My dad was being Espo, because he immediately said, no, that's not going to count. I'm like, no, the cylinder, it's not in play, because I knew that too. I was like, it's not in play, that this is going to count. And especially that Clippers team, I mean, it was just, it's perfect. It was the perfect Phoenix Suns moment at that time. It was amazing.
From a U of A grad. Not grad, just player. Sorry. Bear down.
Maybe someday he'll be a grad.
Leah, were you watching the game at that time? What was going on with you?
I believe I was at Zips, which is where I watched pretty much every Suns playoff game this year, except I did go to one. So, but I just like we said, the community aspect, just being with everybody and the feeling, like you watched it on the court just now, how everyone reacted, how everyone ran, like that feeling, but just in a bar, that feeling of just elation and like what is happening, and going on social media and seeing all the angles. There's that was just insane.
The only disappointment I have about that is that I had the option to go to either game 1 or game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. I went to game 1. I got to see Devin Booker drop like 41, which was cool. But damn, I wish I was there for the Valley Oop.
Yeah.
That would have been so awesome.
Are you guys get up and run around, guys, when something like that happens? Because
you have to be.
I am get up, but I don't run around.
I got up and I sprint. I did like 3 laps like a dog around my house.
The last time I got up and did anything like that was when the Packers were playing the Cardinals in the playoffs, and Michael Adams blitzed off the corner and fumbled into the arms of Carlos Dansby. And I had a bunch of Packers fans. I was living on base at the time. I had a bunch of Packers fans that lived in my area, and I ran out the door and I was like, fuck you!
Yeah.
Like, I was so pumped. That's the last time I ran out.
I was there, and I had watched the game by myself for all but that final play. My wife was driving home with my daughter, listening to the game on the radio, left the car in the middle of the street to get my daughter in time for the final play, and I got to watch it with her, and her and I went nuts.
Aw.
And that
That's
was
awesome.
so,
That's so
that made
fun.
that moment really even more special.
And a meme came out of it, the Stephen A. Smith reaction.
Yes, Stephen A. and Michael
Yeah.
Wilbon.
Yeah.
They're both
Yeah.
That was
jaws wide
incredible.
open. It's spectacular.
Incredible.
Well, that was great. Rehashing 2021 with you folks. It was,
was
fun.
fun.
You know, it was fun. Catch us on PHNX at gophnx.com. Please become a member. Join our family. We have a bunch of deals and specials for all our members. We got great content from everybody from Craig Morgan to Gerald Bourget with our sons, and and all the other riders, Johnny Venerable and such. They do a tremendous job covering covering all the teams. And then join us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Please love us or like us. I always like to say love. Like us, subscribe to us, and give
Like
us a
the
5-star
Cold
rating
Stone
on
Smash that
Apple.
motherfucking love button.
Yeah, the
Cold
love
Stone
button,
playlist,
man.
like it,
If
love
there's a
it,
heart,
gotta
love
have
it.
it.
There you go.
Look into Saul's psyche. Please love us. Please love
Please love us. Yeah, I need hugs.
No, that's not true.
No, I actually hate physical touch. And I always kick Espo every time he gets close to me. So, but for all of us here at PHNX, thank you so much, and thank you so much for joining us in 2021 as we launch this brand new company, which has been fantastic, and we've appreciated all the love, the merch, the support in the Arizona community. You can see our billboards around downtown now.
Yeah.
That's even cooler. So yeah, thank you to the fans and all the support. Until next time on the Phoenix Sports Podcast. Bye-bye.
Peace.